The city of Calgary, with its soaring skyscrapers, sprouts out from the surrounding prairies of the West. Today's skyline defines it as a modern-day city, but its foundations are built on proud historic roots as a Wild West frontier town. Log cabins and wood-framed homes dotted the landscape as the town established itself during the mid-19th century. This was the architecture of necessity and survival. Once the railway made it through Calgary, industry and population boomed. This newfound prosperity encouraged residential, commercial, and ecclesiastical architecture to flourish, taking inspiration from other leading cities like Toronto and Montreal. City Guides heads west to Calgary, Alberta to seek out architectural treasures in an area bordered by 19th Avenue Southwest to the south, 11th Street Southwest to the west, 1st Avenue Southwest to the north, and 15th Street Southeast to the east.
There's a fiction about Calgary that it's a new city without a past, focused firmly on the future. But it isn't so, and a look below the gleaming towers, or behind the steel and glass, will show hundreds of historic office buildings, homes, warehouses, and factories that tell the city's story. Fort Calgary Historic Park occupies the site of the original Northwest Mounted Police Post that was built in the 1870s. It was lost to history in 1914 when this became a railway yard, but then it was reclaimed in the 1970s when it became the subject of an archaeological study and was then turned into a city park.
The original officers' barracks were demolished in 1914 and then reconstructed in 2000 as part of the Fort Calgary Museum. It is an exact reproduction of the two-story building from 1888, which could provide shelter for up to 100 men. It is constructed of wood and has no ornamentation apart from its brightly painted facade.
We're at the Dean House, which is the last remaining building from Fort Calgary. The house was built in 1906 to house the post commander, Richard Burton Dean, and it kept that function until the post was closed and demolished in 1914. The house was designed by local architects Wilson and Lang in the American four-square style, and it just offers a very practical plan where it's a large interior space. It's got a hip roof, dormer windows, some Victorian detailing on top. It was restored in 1973. That year, the city took over the building, and eventually it became a restaurant, which it is now. It was also designated a registered historic resource in 1978.
The interior reveals a simple rustic charm. The wooden floors are throughout the two-story home. The veranda was restored in the 1970s and now includes the restaurant, which is located on the main floor.
The Hunt House stands right behind the Dean House. It's believed to date from the 1870s when it might have been built by Métis buffalo hunter Louis Roselle. It's possibly the oldest building in Calgary. It's certainly the oldest building in Calgary in its original location. The reconstruction of the original palisade wall includes the vertical log construction that was used, even the gaps between some of the logs through which wind and snow would have blown back in the 1870s. And now we'll move from Calgary's original seat of authority to its next seat of authority, City Hall. This building is City Hall. It was built in 1911 at the peak of Calgary's pre-First World War boom. The architect was William Dodd, a Calgary architect who had previously designed the City Hall in Regina. That one was similar in form, but it was built out of brick, whereas this one used locally quarried sandstone, as so many buildings in Calgary of that era did. The style is Richardsonian Romanesque, which was developed by an American architect, H.H. Richardson.
Heavy, broad, and weighty are the three words that best describe the Richardsonian Romanesque style. From the rough-faced quarry stone to the low Roman-style arches and large dominating square clock tower, all these architectural elements elevate this building to grandeur. Its strong presence is perfectly suited to a civic structure. The ornamentation on the facade is also designed in a heavy-set manner like the dentile and balustrade. Ionic columns gracefully flank the pronounced arch entranceway. A large keystone centered on the arch includes the carved city coat of arms with the year 1907, commemorating the year the cornerstone was laid.
This building is Fire Hall Number 1, the second of 3 Fire Hall Number 1s that Calgary has had. This one was designed by local architects Lang and Major, and it was designed in the classical style. Some of the features we see here are the central pediment, the cornice, the rounded window with 4 keystones, the tower with its copper cupola on top, and the string courses that give us this nice contrast between the red brick and the locally quarried sandstone. The building is set at a 45-degree angle to the intersection, which gives the firefighters equal access to 6th Avenue or to 1st Street Southeast. The arches over the entrances are repeated inside the building, and the bays themselves were designed for horse-drawn vehicles as well as for the motorized equipment that was already replacing them in 1911.
The fire hall closed in 1973. The structure was returned to its original historic appearance after undergoing an extensive $1 million restoration project in 1989. It now operates as a budget rent-a-car.
One of the features of that restoration was a recreation of the copper cupola. But there's one error in it. Because of a misreading of an historic photograph, there is the wrong number of pillars supporting the cupola.